Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author, mental health educator, and depression survivor. Welcome to your Depression Recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. Well, today, after a long hiatus, we're going back to our very popular series, Back from the Brink, where I interviewed depression survivors and they show us how they achieved a mental health recovery. Today's guest is from my Monday night group, Andy. Hi, Andy.
Hello.
Of course, we have to do our usual joke. There's actually two of them dedicated to the many fans I have in the UK when I do my live chats on Sunday. So many people from Ireland, England, Scotland are calling in. So here's the first one. Actually, concerns something serious, kidney transplants. A friend of mine had an 18-year-old son who had kidney failure. By some miracle, they found the donor and he got a transplant, and now he's doing well. But unfortunately, the same thing does not happen in England. They don't have kidney banks, but they do have a liver pool. That wasn't too bad, was it?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing succeeds like success. Let's try another one. I've always wanted to go to Ireland. I hear it's a lot like Oregon. And of course, we all learned in history about the Irish potato famine. But now Ireland is doing quite well. It's prospering. And do you know why? Because its capital is always Dublin.
Good. Geography puns.
Yeah,
I like
really.
those.
Geography can't beat that. All right. Let's get started. Andy's here because he's, like me and like many of you, has struggled with depression. So what is your exact diagnosis?
My diagnosis, I have major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and panic disorder. But it's probably predominantly the major depressive disorder.
Yeah, that usually is when the three of them are together.
Yeah.
Panic disorder can be really bad when you're having a panic attack. Mm-hmm. Has there been any history of this in your family?
Not like extensively. I do know that my aunt is, my current aunt is bipolar, and then I also had an aunt who died by suicide a couple years ago. Really?
Mm-hmm. That is so common in the groups. Did we know that before? Maybe you said it and I didn't remember, but wow.
I might have mentioned it.
Yeah,
but yeah. It's.
We've had brothers, sisters, fathers, at the whole nine yards. Mm-hmm. Well, so yourself, since there's a genetic component, how old were you when you first realized that you might be suffering from depression?
I'm not sure if I realized it. My mom took me to like counseling or therapy when I was a young child. When I was a child, I was kind of angry, and I would say I hate my life a lot. So I don't know exactly when that was. But when I noticed it would have to be like later in life. A little bit in high school, but not a lot. And then I guess more recently within the past couple of years.
So when it finally kind of came to you that you didn't feel so hot, what did you do about it?
At first, I didn't do anything.
Typical male response, right?
Yeah, I bottled it up. I didn't really tell anybody. The only person that really knew was my wife. Right. And it wasn't the best choice. I had always been going to a therapist, but I put the good old mask on a lot of the times there and would not always open up about, how I was.
Did you consciously try to keep it a secret for some particular reason, or did you just?
I did. I tried to keep it a secret from my family, and my wife helped me cover it up because, I don't know, the stigma associated. The stigma,
right. You don't want to be seen as weak or incompetent, something, you're a flawed or something like that.
Yeah, my family, I guess, didn't understand. My immediate family, my dad and mother and brother, until my aunt, my mom's sister, did what she did. So
you would think they would be more empathetic and give you some support if you came out and said, I'm depressed, but evidently you weren't sure that was going to happen.
I wasn't sure until after my aunt's passing. And even then, I just didn't want to burden my family with another.
That's very common, right?
Yeah,
don't want to be a burden to others. Okay, so you didn't treat it; you kept it hidden. Was that a successful strategy, or did it kind of not really work?
No, it wasn't a great strategy, and I didn't think through it very well. I didn't think like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be cured. This happened last winter. I had
We're talking about the winter of 2017, 2018.
actually this is 2016, 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. I had surgery on my ankle. I'm an outdoors person. I couldn't move. And then over Christmas, I couldn't go back to my family in Chicago. I had to stay here in Oregon. And because I couldn't move, I couldn't do a couple things. There was a lot of bad things happening with my job, and I just fell into a spiral and kind of stayed there. I took time away from work, but I would go to therapists, but I wasn't really acknowledging that I had a problem.
Mm-hmm. But you did take time away from work.
I did. I took a leave of absence.
So someone knew, or you told somebody, obviously.
It was doctor mandated, yeah, but I wouldn't. I fought it as much as I could.
Interesting. So let's fast forward to the beginning of this year, 2018, when I met you. Was it February? Sometime in the first couple of months.
Yeah, February or March.
And evidently things had kind of come to a head because you had you ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, I did. Sort of the same situation. I don't know if it's the dark. I'm fine with the rain, but a lot of it had to do with my job and just not feeling like I could continue doing it. I had some trouble with my personal relationship with my wife. There was a whole stream of circumstances, and I ended up in the hospital for a couple of suicide attempts.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you had reached out to me before then, and we were going to come to the Monday group, so I called on Monday, and your wife picked up the phone.
Yeah.
Said, "Oh, I'm looking for Andy," and she said, "Well, he's in the hospital. He just had suicide." I said, "Oh, that's great." So then I called over. I got a hold of the social worker. I said, "He's supposed to be in group tonight," and she went ahead and told you to go.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah, they
didn't keep you. They said, get thou to a support group.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that was actually prior to meeting you and then talking to you, I was in the Providence Behavioral Health Program.
Oh, you were in the IEP program? I didn't know that. Before
I talked to you.
So that was before the attempt, before you were in the hospital then.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there was an attempt. There were two attempts. There was one that triggered me going into the behavioral health program. So I was hospitalized then, and then I was sent to the behavioral health program. And I realized then, I never thought I would want group support or anything like that. I was, I'm pretty introverted and closed off. Right. But at the behavioral health program, I realized the group support and the dynamic and the people being open and sharing and caring, that would be something that I need. So I found your group.
Right. So that you did discover something that's been, a part of my ministry, which is to get people into community support, because look what happened with AA. They started in 1935, and up until then there was no cure for alcoholism. So that gave me a clue that with depression, mood disorders, like addiction, we need to be in community. So you found that out through Providence, and you've been in this group for 9 months, and you're doing really well now, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
What else do you think has been helping you in your recovery besides being in the group? It's usually multifaceted. Usually people are doing many things at once.
Yeah. It's not just like one thing. It's not the group. It's not just medication. It's not just therapy. It's a combination of all those. It's also reaching out and accepting that it's this is an illness that I have to learn how to manage. And I think I was in denial for many years. Right. I didn't want to take medication. Right. I didn't want to seek help. But now I'm more comfortable to talk about it. And, it's good to have the peer support and the family support.
There's something called acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT. Mm-hmm. I was just interviewing my brother for my next video on chronic pain. And he said the same thing happened to him. They teach ACT to people with chronic pain. The first step is to admit you've got it and to stop denying it and fighting it and just say, okay, I have this condition. Now what am I going to do and how am I going to manage it? So, that's what everybody has to come to, whether it's addiction or depression or pain. They have to surrender. All right, this is what, I've been dealt. Now let's see what we can do. And that's what I've had to do. You've had to do. People in Alcoholics Anonymous have to do. My brother. So it's universal. Yeah. Anyway, any medication help during this time at all? It's usually, I find with depression, hit and miss. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Yeah, I've been a carousel of trying to all kinds of different stuff. I feel like a giant mix lab of different things. I'm finally on a medication for a couple months now that I think has helped.
Which one?
It's Zoloft.
Yeah, right. Just one of the original SSRIs.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I've tried a whole mixture of different
Right,
things.
right.
Kind of sucks when you
Right.
have to keep trying things, but
So what I would say, Andy, is from the time I met you, which were you in the crisis, stage, of course, I would say now you're in the maintenance phase.
yeah.
You're feeling pretty well, but you know from experience that, depression is always, a potential because of your experience, your genetic history. So you're just doing these things we talked about. Are you exercising did your ankle heal so you can exercise at all?
The ankle is a chronic problem of
Okay.
but I try to do as much as I can. I try to play sports. I try to go out hiking, biking, swimming. Obviously can't go swimming now, but,
Well, you could if you're a polar bear.
I mean, yeah, they do the polar bear swim.
Right.
That doesn't sound very pleasant to me, but yeah, exercising really helps. Just
Yeah.
being physically active.
The number one mood enhancer
Yeah.
that I found without side effects.
Yeah.
There's plenty of mood enhancers, but they, as Isaac Newton said, what goes up must come down, right? Okay, So final thing, if there's a person listening or watching right now who is feeling really depressed but doesn't want to talk about it, feels ashamed, feels stigma, feels trapped, what would you say to that person to give them some hope and encouragement?
Yeah. Well, I know it may seem hopeless and impossible to get out of, and like the day or the night or this pain will never end. I've been there. That sucks. You can't give up. You just have to know that this will pass, this feeling. And you also kind of have to accept and understand that it's not going to be permanently gone forever. You can manage it and you can do it to the best of your ability, and you'll just be able to work on it day in and day out, and you'll be able to recognize your symptoms, triggers, and deal with that in a much better, more responsible way. Also, don't be afraid to ask for help. I know it's hard, but asking for
It's
help.
a strength, not a weakness.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say is that, people say, this person on my website said, YouTube channel site said, oh, does that mean I have depression? I'm always going to be depressed? I said, no, you can have very good quality of life in between episodes. And even if you have an episode, it doesn't have to be as deep as a major depression. So, we don't have to be pessimistic and think, oh, we're just going to be, like Eeyore the donkey, right? Yeah. So, you have a decent quality of life right now. Maybe it would be better if you weren't depressed, but all things considered, things could be a lot worse for you, for me, and for many people.
Yes, things could be a lot worse.
Right. Gratitude. Well, thanks for sharing
Thanks, Douglas.
Every time we do one of these, the listeners, the viewers, get some hope. Wow, he came out of it. Maybe I can. It's really helpful to see success stories from other people. Well, thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did so, please give it a like or leave your comments for me on the YouTube channel. You can also email me, douglasbloch@gmail.com. And for those of you who are interested in doing long-distance mental health coaching who can't come to my groups in Portland, Oregon, there's a URL, a website on the screen showing you, which if you write it down and go to the website, you can learn about my mental health coaching services. And if you click on the symbol of something called Patreon and the closing credits, that's a crowdfunding website. You can go there and you can become a supporting member of this channel for as little as $2 a month. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Oh yes, remember to hit the subscribe button also. That's a good thing, subscribing to the channel. You'll be notified every time we have a new video. Thanks again, and see you next time.